In our last video, we created a side that's able to open the door. But one of the problems we may run into is that our player might not notice that the door opened. So if our door was way off into the distance, where the player isn't able to see it from the gnome's position, the player might not be able to realize that moving this little gnome actually opened that door. So in order to do that, we're going to want to change the camera so that it's looking at the door when the door opens. So to do this, I'm going to create a new camera object in the scene. So once again, I'm able to quickly add another object to the scene, and I'm going to be able to go down to Cinematic Camera Actor. And then I'm going to be able to move that to the position I want it to be in, looking, of course, at its little preview window here in the corner. I'm going to make it look at the door the way we want our player to see this door in action. All right, so now that I have my camera in position, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change the view target of our player when this activates so that we can look from this camera to see everything open. I'm going to go ahead and set another camera that's going to look at my little gnome so that we can see it in action as well. And so I'll add another one of these. So again, we're going to quickly add another object. Under Cinematic, we're going to add a Cinematic Camera Actor. We need to move it into position. All right, I don't need it to be perfect right now, but once we've got that camera positioned where we want it to be, that we can see our little gnome in action, we're going to be able to use these cameras to change our view as we set these objects up. So to do this, I'm going to go to my little gnome himself that's going to be activated here. So here's my blueprint remote button. And we're going to update our code here so that we can do different things before our timeline starts, right? So before we get into activating our timeline, we're going to perform another action that's going to work. So if I move this back out of the way, I can create a function to change my camera viewport. So we're going to be changing the view target of our player. So in order to do this, we're going to need to access our player. To do that, we're going to start by getting our player controller. And once we have that player controller, now we can set our view target with blend. This node will allow us to change what we're looking at inside of the game. So we're going to set our view target with blend. So when we activate our button, we're going to change our view target. The player whose view target we're changing is going to be listed here in target. That's connected to our player controller. Our new view target is going to be the new camera that we want to look at. So we're going to need to create variables that fit within this position. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a variable. And this is going to be my button view target. And it's going to be of type actor. So we're coming down to object type actor, object reference. And I'm going to add another blueprint that's going to be my door view target. That's also going to be an actor. And later, I'm going to want to go back to my original player view target. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable now for my player view target. My player view target isn't going to be set by my designers. It's going to be the view target that's set in the player itself. So we're not going to make that exposed for designers to change. So with our button view target and our door view target variables created, we're going to first look at the button, which is our little gnome. We're going to set a blend time, how long it takes to look at that little gnome. So I'm going to set it to be half a second. After we've set our view target, we're going to wait a little bit before our gnome moves. So I'm going to create a new node that's called a delay node. And all a delay node does is it actually waits before the next thing occurs. So I'm going to press it. We're going to move our target, but I'm going to wait that 0.5 seconds for our camera to get into position, right? Once it's in position, then we'll play the animation. After we've played the animation, then we'll come out of our finished and we'll change our view target over to our door. So I'm going to take this information and I'm going to move it over. And we're once again going to get player 0. So we're once again going to get our player controller for player 0. When we come off of that, we're going to set view target with blend. So that our finished here is to set our view target with blend. The new view target is going to be our door view, so we're going to get that. And our blend time, I'm going to let it take a complete second to get over to that door. And then we'll either open or close the door. So this will open the door as we're moving. So again, I'm going to want to put a delay node. So we're going to set that to our door view target, and then we're going to delay. In order to give it time for that to occur, we're going to delay 1 second. And that's going to then choose to either open or close the door. After we've finished opening or closing the door, we're going to get player 0 again. Get player controller. And we're going to set its view target with blend again. And our new view target is going to be our player, the original player view target. And this time I'm going to go back quickly, so I'm going to set that only half a second to get back to our location. And both of these are going to connect there to get back to our view target. Excellent. Now we just need to make sure that we filled the values for all of these elements. Well, the view target of the button and the door, they're exposed, so we're going to change them inside of Unreal. But our player view target is not something we want to have to hook up manually. So what we're going to do is on our begin play event. So here's our begin play event. We're going to save in this view target that view target. So we're going to get player controller 0. That player controller, we're now going to get the view target. The view target here is going to be this actor, right? This actor that we set up. And we're going to use that to set our player view target. So now when we start, we're going to set our player view target to the current view target when the game started. So that this way we know how to get back to that view target. Save, compile, and let's hook everything up and give it a test. So now my remote button, when my button fires, inside of its default, it not only has the door, but it's also going to need to know the button view target, and it's going to need to know the door view target. So I'm going to make sure I name these camera actors, right? So this camera actor, I'm going to rename. And this is going to be my button camera. And this camera actor, I'm going to rename. And this is going to be my door camera. And when we select our remote button, we're going to be able to hook those up. So here in my button view, I'm going to be able to say, look, I want my button camera and I want my door camera. All right, with those connected, we can press play. And now when I go over to my little gnome, when I press E to start, it's going to zoom in on my gnome. He moves, and then I move to my other door. So they're pretty quick. I probably want to extend some of those delays.
Open
to make sure that
sesame.
things get back to where they're at. I don't know if I want them to go exactly the speed or exactly the delay. We may want to have it sit for a little bit so I can open those up and we can play with those values. So for example, even though it only takes 0.5 seconds to look down at my button, I might want to take a complete second so that we have a little time of looking at him before they move. And then after we finish moving, I probably want to delay for a short second, so I can add another delay node here. And add a quick little, 0.5 second delay. Then we'll move over to the other door, right? We'll give that a longer delay so that it's able to wait a bit before the door opens. And then we'll watch our door open and we'll come back to our timeline. So extending those delays may make this a little less motion sickness.
Open sesame.
So there we go. I probably wanted to wait longer on that door, let that door get opened all the way. So I'll make one last shift just to kind of polish. So get used to the idea that you're going to have to polish these setups. So here's my open door where I set the door to open. Oh, and I actually don't delay after I open the door. And that's why I go back so quickly when we get to that end. So I'm going to create a delay node here. And these are going to click to a delay node instead. And I remember that it took me 1.5 seconds for my door to open. So I'm going to wait 2 seconds. We'll save, we'll compile. And now when we go back, we should have a little less motion sickness. Look at my gnome, he moves. Look at the new location.
Open sesame.
Go back to where we were at, and I'm back to playing the game.